Coming up on today's episode, Pugh in the leading role, that woman was just born to lead a franchise.
In some ways, I'm a very quick learner. In other ways, I'm really not.
yeah,
And in this way, I wish I'd learned a lot faster. You can't change whatever happened. It happened. What you can change is your orientation towards it.
Even superheroes can't escape the embarrassment of their father.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Hello there, everybody. I'm your host, Ryan Vanderhei. I am a writer, director, and longtime cinephile. And to my left is my co-host. Where is that guy? Where is he at? There he is.
You're talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name's Joe Parente, and I'm an actor here in LA, and I too love movies. It's true.
And that's why we're here, isn't it?
It is.
And today specifically,
Yeah.
we're talking about the 2025 Marvel blockbuster Thunderbolts, asterisk. And the theme we're going to explore is not allowing your darkness to define you. This is the spoiler-free section, so if you haven't seen the movie, you're still safe. I will let you know when we're heading into spoiler territory. Have no fear. Joe, I want to just get your initial thoughts here. How did you feel leaving the cinema? Did Thunderbolts stay with you after you got to your car?
It did.
It did, okay.
It stayed with me. Ryan is
right.
referring to something that we've talked about before, that magical feeling when you have hopefully when you leave the cinema, and how long does it stay with you? How many feet or how many days?
Yeah.
You know?
Some movies, by the time you get to the car, you go,
Yeah, why am
what
I
was that
here?
I just saw?
Right.
And
Exactly.
then some stick with you, and then you think about them for a couple of days.
This one stayed beyond my car.
Okay, I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So you had a pleasant experience?
I did, and here's something I just want to say right out of the gate about this movie. It's one of those rare times when the trailer is so much worse than the movie. I mean, I thought the trailer showed some of the weaker scenes in the movie.
For sure.
And so I was very pleasantly surprised
Yeah, me
by
too.
this. Really pleasantly surprised.
Me too. I think that was strategic.
It was.
I think
and
so
it
because
worked.
with the trailer, there's an art to making a trailer. I mean, that's why you hire out. You usually contract out.
Because you're too close to the project otherwise.
Not only that, but people, this is their expertise. This is their job. This is what they do.
Got
They
it.
make trailers.
Cool.
There's entire companies that do this. And so you contract out, and then they can kind of pick and choose and feel like, find a vibe, find a feeling, and hopefully drive that home and get you to go see the movie. I think with Thunderbolts, it was like they didn't give away the core of the movie, which I think I was really was surprised by, one, and pleasantly so.
Yeah.
I was very excited once the core of this movie started to show itself.
Me
I was
too.
like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Me too. And so
I didn't think Thunderbolts had it in it.
well, Thunderbolts or like a Marvel movie, like
Yeah.
this, you wouldn't have an expectation for this particular, psychological, emotional element.
And they've had a run of some maybe some tougher movies that
Sure.
have lacked that.
Yeah.
And they've been on a dive here, Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think this one might bring them back.
And
I have a feeling.
I hear you, and I think a lot of that has to do also with Florence Pugh.
Oh, we'll get into that. We'll discuss her at length.
Is it okay for me to say I'm just deeply and profoundly in love with her?
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
just-
fine. That's
oh my
totally
God,
fine. I think
she's
you
amazing.
and half of the men on the earth
No,
probably.
That does not make
Men
me
and
unique
women.
or unusual in any way.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so that's good to know. I'm going to come back to that question.
Okay.
Did it, in future movies, meaning, did it stay with you
Yeah.
after you got to the car?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So, I think Marvel suffers from the ailment of making movies specifically intended for the largest possible audience.
Mm-hmm.
In order for a movie to appeal to the most amount of people possible, you have to leave very little to the imagination.
Well, it's kind of like the lowest common denominator kind of thinking. you know?
Exactly. It's like, how do we explain this or express this where every single person will get it regardless of
Right. So it has
who
to
they
be
are,
on the nose.
where they are.
Yeah.
And I like you said that because while I was pleasantly surprised by this film, and I did enjoy it, there was a lot that I had to overlook. Everything is on the nose. Everything is spoon-fed to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a director, as a filmmaker, it's a hard decision on what to include and what to leave out. You know, you have to... Is the audience going to understand this, what I'm trying to say here? Or do I need to have a line? Do I need to cut to a close-up? Do I need... You know, you have to figure out what do I leave in and what do I take out? And here, they didn't take anything. Everything is on the nose. Every line, every shot, everything is like... It just... They paint the full picture for you. Nothing is left to the imagination.
It's a good point.
You know, the audience doesn't have to figure anything out. It connects all the dots for you. The dialogue is clunky at times, you know, and again, on the nose. Everything is reduced to basic communication so that everyone can watch it and understand it. That being said,
Yeah.
IMAX, baby.
Yeah. Agreed.
It was visually beautiful at times.
Yeah, it was.
At times, the CGI looked pretty clean.
Yeah.
Everything looked
I think so too.
pretty good. Pugh in the leading role. That woman was just born to lead a franchise.
Wasn't she though?
I'm surprised that it's taken her this long to get to that.
I haven't seen her be mediocre in anything.
No, I mean
She just crushes every role she takes on.
And what's funny is I'm not getting this like the feeling of there's other actors out there. You know, like sometimes when you see somebody pop up all the time, you're like, yeah, it'd be nice to see someone else. I don't get that with her at all.
No, me either.
I want more.
Me either.
I don't have enough.
Well, yeah, because looking at her, looking at her face, I just want to know, well, like, what is she thinking? What's going on?
Yeah,
like,
she's so interesting.
She is very interesting. And so it adds a level, she alone adds a level of depth to this movie.
Yeah.
That's really refreshing.
She is a wonderful leading role. She can take command of the scene and the camera like few other people can. And she's great in Dune. She's great in anything I've seen her in. I find a hard time finding anything bad to say. I mean, she hits every nail on the head. She leaves no stone unturned, and Thunderbolts is no different. Like, I think that was my favorite part of the movie, was her.
For me too.
And I think, I don't know if I read some stuff online about this being intended to be a sequel to Black Widow. Like it was going to focus way more on Yelena and her dad. But I think I like what they did with bringing in all the other and like maybe spreading out the focus a little bit, but she was still our focal point. She was still our lead. And I think that was a smart move.
Very smart.
Again, if anybody can do it, it's her.
Yeah.
So she was my favorite part of this movie. And
Mine too.
I do think it came alive in the third act.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I really started to get interesting, and my interest peaked in it. I would say, are you feeling that too?
I do. Although I have to admit, with her as the through line, she kept me engaged the whole time because she's someone who, you know, an assassin who's going through an existential void, which is kind of, and the way she did it was really interesting. And battling her own, well, we'll get into it, I'm sure. But so I didn't even finish my own sentence. I just cut myself off. But
no spoilers.
I found, like, I really noticed her tone of voice, like in the lab, even. You know, her tone of voice was I just thought it's perfect. I can feel your discontent and I can see it in your face, yet you're still doing your job. You're actually got a really great dry sense of humor. She can carry a film.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, I hope I didn't say too much.
No, I don't think you did at all. This is your typical superhero movie without being overindulgent. I do think this could propel Marvel back into their supremacy, like I said, but depending on what they go, you know, how they go from here, and we'll get into that later on. But to me, I just felt like I think Marvel knew that they were in a tough spot. I think I knew they had their backs against the wall.
Yeah.
And if they didn't knock this out, I mean, they were in serious trouble. I think they had pulled other movies out of production and stuff because of how things were going. Like, I think
No
it was
pressure.
looking pretty dire.
Yeah.
And I do think that this one is going to maybe get them back on track.
Okay.
So I will say I enjoyed the film. Yes, I know I just kind of picked apart, but that's Marvel kind of in general, or blockbuster film, popcorn films in general, not specifically Marvel, but they can too sort of lean into that spoon-fed. Everything's just given to you. It's nothing to the imagination. That doesn't have to be bad. Sometimes I go into these movies with that in my head already. I just know what I'm going in for.
Of course.
I'm not
Exactly.
but that leaves us to be pleasantly surprised.
Exactly.
When this reminded me of Civil War.
Okay.
Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That had heart, that had
It
story, that had passion, that had
Yeah.
the characters had something at stake, and it was more than just superheroes.
Yeah,
It was
true.
like there was this something to cling on to,
Well,
something to hit you.
I mean, at the risk of sounding, I don't know what, corny or whatever, just humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was humanity, and there
had
was humanity in this.
There absolutely was.
Yeah.
It brought it down to reality.
Yeah.
And that could be part because we have like the misfits and they're sort of outcasts and they're not real superheroes, if you will.
Right.
So and that could be playing part.
Well, yeah, because we can relate to people who have struggles. Well, of course, now superheroes are flawed.
Sure.
But just how she was flawed in particular really struck a chord.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that, but first,
Right on.
we got to find out if our stars are
Let's
aligned
find
here,
that
Joe.
out.
I think we might be.
I think we might be
I
too.
think we might be.
But we'll
I'm
find out.
I'm going to see. I think
Yeah.
out of 5 stars here, I think you gave it a 3.5.
Initially, I did. And then I moved it up.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts got a 4 out of 5 stars from
Yeah.
Joe
To
Parente.
go from 4 to 5, though, in my book is very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, 4 is
I know 4 is pretty solid.
4 is pretty solid.
I sat on that one for a long time because I gave it 3.5 initially. I'm gonna guess that is exactly what you gave it, 3.5.
I gave it 3.
Oh, you gave it 3.
I gave it 3. I think.
Sorry, I meant 3. Yeah.
I think there's a good movie in here. I think that there is some bits of like we talked about humanity and like something I could really dig into. Pugh is fantastic, but I can't forget all of the cringy dialogue and the on the nose, nothing left to the.
And I totally
imagination.
get that. I think I'm just going to confess that Florence just completely skewed my perspective.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Because I was so impressed by what she brought
Yeah.
to this. And we're going to get into it more because I think also part of at least a half star that I gave, I felt like there was so much potential. Whether or not they really captured it or not, we can discuss.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
So let's learn a little bit of fun trivia
I
here,
love
a
it.
little bit of fun
Please.
facts about the film.
Bring it.
So we're talking about Thunderbolts. The first being Florence Pugh actually jumped off the
I saw
Merdeka
that.
118 in Malaysia at the beginning of the film, which is, by the way, the second tallest building in the world. This happened out of Pugh's idea. Because if you know anything about actors, stunts, anything, you don't want your lead actor doing like some crazy shit.
Right,
this,
because your
like some-
insurance
some-
is already expensive.
The insurance, the lawyers, like
Yeah.
it's an absolute nightmare to have your leading character, your leading actor in a situation like this. But she hammered Kevin Feige, the producer, with emails about we have to do it, I'm doing it, like just over and over and over again. She said she's not afraid of heights, like I got to be the one to do it, authentic, real, and I respect that. And
Me
it
too.
makes me like her performance that much more.
Me too.
And the movie opens with that. It's a really cool opening, I thought.
And you saw the interview or one of the interviews of her talking about it, and I love how she said, "I'm doing a Marvel film. I'm doing this this is an opportunity. When am I going to
Yeah.
get to do something like this? And, being in movies allows you to become really, an expert in this and well-versed in this. And seize the day. She just went for it. And
That's right.
Yeah.
She took a page out of old Tom Cruise's book.
Exactly.
And
That's
she
a good way to put
argued her way
Yeah,
in. I mean, he famously, if the stuntman says, no, we can't do it, he gets a new stuntman.
Right.
He gets a new
Stunt coordinator.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
I knew what you meant. Yeah.
So shout out to Pugh.
Yeah,
I
for
really
sure.
respect that. Second are 2 castings. So these are moves that happened prior to shooting.
Okay.
So originally, the role of Robert Reynolds, who was played by Lewis Pullman, very, very well too. Really enjoyed him in this role.
Bill Pullman's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. It was actually given to Stephen Yen from Beef
Wow.
initially. What a different movie he would have
Totally.
had. I'm sure he would have knocked it out of the
Oh,
park.
I
I love
have
Stephen Yen.
All the confidence in the world in Stephen Yeun.
But it would have been a different film, huh? But due to the SAG-AFTRA strikes, reschedulings and stuff, he just had to pull out due to his scheduling conflicts. And then the other is the role of Mel, the assistant, who originally was given to Ayo Adebri
Okay.
from The Bear.
Bear. Okay.
But she too had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts, who also, I'm sure, would have done a knockout job. But I liked the woman who played...
Me too.
Can we get her name? The woman who played the assistant, Mel. She played Mel.
Yeah. I thought she was good.
She was great.
Yeah.
And I've seen her in other stuff too, so I think she's getting some work.
Mm-hmm.
She's a working
for
gal.
sure. For sure.
So hope to see her in more. We're about to enter into spoiler
territory.
Geraldine Viswanathan.
I'm guessing.
I hope I'm saying that right. I might be butchering that. I apologize.
Sorry, Geraldine.
Viswanathan.
If we got that wrong.
As Mel. She was fantastic.
She was fantastic.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I will say it a third time. Spoiler alert here. We're going into spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to when you don't want it ruined for you, click off, go watch it, come back. If you have seen it, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
So our theme here, Joe, not letting your darkness define you. Boy, this is something that all of us can probably relate to in some way or another, huh? Like
Boy,
we talked
can I.
about. Human.
Boy, can I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah.
It had this humanity. It had this human element. It struck a chord. And at the core of this movie was this very moving story about people struggling, about people having darkness and struggling with that and struggling with how to deal with that and how to face it or move on or run away from it or what should you do and this movie, again, it's Marvel. It doesn't leave anything to the imagination. It tells you what it wants you to feel, but it does it good and it does it effectively and it does it well.
It does.
What is it that your friend said to you about if you want to help yourself, help others?
Yeah. My friend, the Dalai Lama.
Yeah. Oh, was that the Dalai Lama that said that? Oh.
Yeah. If you want to help your own
That's right, because you were like,
anguish.
everybody was falling asleep. You were like, I remembered one thing.
No, those were two different things. Those are two different times I saw the Dalai Lama, actually.
I forget you've
It's
seen the Dalai
okay.
Lama more than once.
Yeah. I was lucky.
That's a rare. Yeah.
I was lucky. But the second time was when, he said a lot of times people go through their bodies to try to make themselves feel better, but the problem isn't in your body. The problem is in your mind. So going through your body might give you temporary relief, but it's not really going to help. And so he said to really help your mind, if you feel like anguish or depression or what have you, is help someone else. Focus on others and what can I do for you?
I think the screenwriters might have been in the same room.
For sure.
Because this movie very much presents that exact message.
It does. Another message that it presented, or at least another perspective, shall I say, that it offered, and I thought this was brilliant, was when we first see one of the characters look at his own life, and he's observing how he is with his son that he's ignoring, his infant son, and his wife, and the shame he feels watching himself do what he did. I loved that.
Yeah.
That's part of why I gave it that extra half star.
Yeah.
Because if we can do that in our own lives, we're going to do ourselves a tremendous service of
100%.
reviewing things in our lives that were perhaps painful, things that we did that we feel great shame for, and looking at it and ultimately, hopefully, coming to a point where we can cut ourselves enough slack to be okay with it.
Totally.
And to be okay with, I made the decision I did at the time because that's where I was. And, and in a way, if you think about it, people can't help but do what they do. If you really think about it. And I love that this movie showed elements of these people as like these particular kinds of rooms. Because that's how I kind of look at my mind. It's got all these rooms in it.
100%. Yeah, it was a good visual representation.
Exactly. In some rooms, things are not great. And in other rooms, things are beautiful.
Of course.
And this movie did that.
Absolutely. That's life.
And that's a Marvel movie.
That's a Marvel movie. That's exactly what we're saying.
I was really impressed.
There's a gem in there. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about more of the specifics,
Cool.
those scenes and stuff like that. But I'm just curious if there's any times in your life where, you went through it was a difficult couple of years, there's a rough patch, and you felt like there was darkness and you were able to overcome it. That's what I'm looking for. You were able to overcome it. What did overcoming it look like for you? How did that happen? How did you do it? Did someone else help you? Like what, if there's anything that you can point to specifically, and if you need me to talk about mine, I can.
I'll jump in there.
Okay.
The way Brian and I, obviously we can see each other. For those of you, well, of course we can. We're right here. But what he can see on my face, I think you're clocking like, oh, what's going on there?
Yeah.
It's not that I'm like, have I ever had that? I'm trying to think. I've had so many. Which one would I choose for public consumption?
Sure.
Because I used to do this thing, and some of my friends are familiar with this. And after a time, I called it caving.
Caving.
And
I think we talked about this off.
Yeah, we did. And I would spend sometimes 4, 5, 6 days, 2 weeks with my drapes drawn, and I'd only go out after the sun went down. If I did go out, and sometimes it would take me days to recognize that I was doing this.
Interesting.
And I just didn't even want to get up. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to do anything. And I started to catch myself caving. Like I'd catch myself like 3/4 of a day in, because I would it just felt like the right thing to do. And so I almost wouldn't question it. But I got better at questioning it. And wait a minute, what's going on here? It might seem so obvious. Yeah, you're sitting inside in a dark room, but I don't know. I like that.
Sure. Okay.
And and there's an element of that brings me comfort.
Yeah, sure.
What has pulled me out of that is different depending. Like when my mom passed away, I caved hard for a long time.
Reasonably so.
I really caved hard.
Yeah.
And
difficult emotions, dealing with difficult emotions, do you think that's kind of what would pull you into the caving?
Difficult emotions, but for me, it would be confusion. I don't know what to do. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand how I got myself here.
Kind of like shutting down.
The shutting down part would be, you dumbass, you did it again. Or it would be the being upset with myself was the heaviness.
Got it. Okay.
And that could snowball into being ashamed of myself, and then feeling guilty about the fact that I actually have, some rather positive attributes. And what are you doing with them? And you're going to waste, and you're wasting your time on this planet. And oh my God, it can just go on and on and on.
Spiral,
and on.
Yeah.
So I think it was just kind of, Ryan, cumulatively over the years, learning how to cut myself slack, how to be a lot more forgiving of myself.
Yeah.
and how things are. And also, to the point of this movie, in a sense, also just relating to friends and family and people that you love and that love you. As corny as that might sound, that can be just that can make a really massive difference.
100%.
So
I appreciate you sharing that, man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. I totally understand where you're coming from.
and how do you understand that?
I myself, I have had this, but I think before I get into my story, I want to just touch on something there. I think that, it's really important, like you said, to the biggest thing I took away from that is the grace that you give yourself.
Yeah.
That's so important. The older that I get, the more that I understand that I have to stop, being so hard on myself. As such, sometimes we have such high expectations, and when we don't meet it, we like beat ourselves up.
We do. And I have to I don't have to, but I try to remind myself, am I that hard on everybody?
Right. Why am I
And
so hard on myself?
if I'm cutting slack to my friends and
Why
the
don't I
people I
cut-
love, right? Why
Got
can't
the
I do
same
it for
slack to
myself?
me. Yeah,
And-
totally.
And in some ways, I'm a very quick learner. In other ways, I'm really not.
yeah.
And in this way, I wish I'd learned a lot faster. It just took me a long time of really seeing that caving as I did,
Yeah.
or just being brutal on myself, just didn't benefit anything. Not at all.
Yeah.
I will say I had a slight caving incident this week,
Interesting. Okay.
and I let myself I knew what I was doing, and I let myself have it for like 2 hours, and then I got up. I'm like, okay, now what are we going to do?
I love that.
So it didn't take 2 weeks. It took me, I gave myself the time, and I just said, okay, I'm just going to do this. And I closed my drapes and got fetal on the couch and just thought, oh boy, I'm in a pickle. But then just thought, okay, well, like, I'm still breathing, heart's still beating. Life goes on.
Yeah.
I hear birds outside,
Yeah.
things are happening. So
might
as
be
well
time
be
to go
part of
for
it.
a walk
Yeah,
or something, get some fresh
exactly.
air.
It's
Yeah,
like- and,
totally.
And going for a walk is an incredibly fantastic, healthy thing. I will throw out something that that some Buddhists know, and that is the mind follows the breath.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're outside breathing, it helps your mind move. That's where sometimes people sitting at a desk aren't really breathing as they're working, and their mind's not really moving, and they feel stuck. Get up, go outside, go for a walk.
This is so funny that you're bringing this up.
So I did exactly that after I was post fetal position. I put on my shorts, put on my hat.
Went
for a
outside,
walk.
got some rays. It's so funny that you brought that up because that happened to me just the other day, just this week. I was trying to do work. Technology wasn't agreeing with me that day for whatever reason. I was getting incredibly frustrated and like upset at myself because I was even in this situation and all these things. And I was like, ready to tear my hair out. And I closed the laptop. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to clear my head. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to come back refreshed. And you know what I did? On the walk, I found a solution to it.
There you go. Because,
I just was able to get away from it, get outside. I'm seeing
And
something
literally
different. I got
breathing.
the sun. I'm breathing.
that's a
I'm
big
moving.
deal.
And then slowly all that frustration
Yep.
just went away. And then I saw clearly, here's my solution.
Awesome.
So that's a great point. For my side of this,
please.
I really want to touch on something specific, a specific aspect of this film addresses, which is kind of something that you said too, which is kind of facing it and like addressing it and taking a look inside and looking at those things. And specifically, this film sort of talks about why running away from it is unsuccessful a lot of the time. Bucky,
A lot of the time?
a lot of the time, majority of the time.
Yeah.
Bucky at one point in the movie says, the past doesn't go away, so you can either live with it forever or do something about it. And this speaks to me a lot because I've always had a very proactive attitude towards my struggles, particularly with my mental health. We see in the movie that Yelena tries to drown her sorrows in alcohol. Robert tries to do it through drugs, and that doesn't work. Until you face it head on, until you address it, running from it will only make it grow stronger, I think. You can't outrun it, just like the movie represents. Everybody who tries to run away is turned into literal darkness. I think this could in part be due to our cultural attitude towards these kinds of issues. I do think times are changing. I think we're getting better as a society slowly. But for many years, the sentiment has been, like Elena says early on, you just got to push it down. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, whatever you just shove it down and go back to work. You know, got to be a productive member of society like everyone else. Just suck it up, get back to doing your thing. That's been the attitude. We don't give people the time, the respect. You know, when somebody's physically injured, we all, okay, yeah, you're going to take off work. You got the boot on the foot. I get it. When somebody's going through a profoundly difficult mental time in their life, we don't give them the same grace. We don't get. It's like, suck it up, get back to work. We got shit to do. You know what I mean?
Get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that that's the exact wrong thing to do. You have to take the time, and when you do this, you know, when you don't, and you don't deal with it, or you deal with it through the body, like we're saying with drugs or alcohol, it might suppress it for a short amount of time, but then it's going to come back. The way I was able to look at it for myself was like weeds in a garden. So if by taking, you know, drinking or drugs or work, me, it was work. I just drowned myself in so much work I didn't have time to think. You're just spraying weed killer.
Right.
So
but
those
not
weeds will
getting at
die,
the root of it.
and then they'll come right back.
That's right.
Until you get down on your knees and pull that root out, it's going to keep coming back. So,
and when it comes back later, there's a good chance that you don't know why it came back or what's going on.
100%. And that's something that I had as a very, very difficult lesson that I had to learn. I mean, my anxiety was at one point in my life where it was just woke up all day, went to sleep. It was just anxiety, panic attacks all day. Oof. And my only escape was sleep. That was it.
It sounds exhausting. You probably wanted to sleep.
And what was my solution? Work. I just wanted to drown myself in work. I just worked from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. So the only time that I had to think, I didn't.
Yeah.
There was no time.
Yeah, your dreams must have been really something, though.
Yeah, how could you be anxious if you're just working all the time? You can't. It's the same as you know, everybody has their own little crutch or whatever. For me, it was the work.
Wow. I actually do mean that. Do you remember? Did you have a lot of active dreaming going on at the time?
I don't remember, yeah. That whole...
Maybe you shut that down, too.
Those couple of years are really a blur.
Wow.
They're really a blur. Like, I feel like things happened and I don't remember them. Like, major life things probably happened and I just don't remember because I was just in a trance almost, like state of just wake up, work, sleep, wake up, work, sleep. And then obviously that ended pretty abruptly with, burnout. And once I finally took a break, my body just shut down.
I believe it.
It just couldn't. It was like 5 years of me just working every day, all day. And my body would just couldn't take it anymore. But I was forced to look my problems in the face. I was faced with, no pun intended, I was faced with staring it down, with addressing these issues and getting to the core of what is it that's causing this anxiety? Where is it coming from? And
Good for you.
And proactively working at it to understand and eventually overcome it. You know, this movie is very much spreading the message of we need each other to overcome our own darkness, right? And for me, fitting to what you said in your story, being with people, getting out, spending time with friends, with family.
Having a good laugh with somebody.
Having a good laugh, a good conversation. Yeah. It does, it moves mountains for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And I used to think for a while that made me weak, that you've got to be independent and you've got to be, I fell into the wormhole of like, you got to outwork everybody and just be on your own and like build an empire, like whatever all that crap is. And then, so for a long time, my mindset was like, well, if I'm relying on people, then I'm weak. But then I've now since come around and have this full circle moment of, It's not needing them
No.
to survive in any way. It's wanting
Exactly.
them.
That's a crucial distinction.
It's them
too.
adding. They add these friends, these family members. They add so much color to my life, So it's not that I'm like dependent on everybody and
Right.
I'm just some helpless baby.
No, I'm
At all.
really glad for you, for your sake, that you've had that, if you will, paradigm shift. Something also about being around people is that you start to realize, like, oh, you have that too. Oh, you the circumstances might be different, but there's a similar theme, and also you've probably seen this in time too, that certain people and certain conversations evoke things from me.
Yeah,
That can be incredibly helpful.
100%.
So,
Agreed.
and here we are talking about a Marvel movie.
That's
again.
right. Yeah. How did it bring us here?
I know.
Thunderbolts
That
did
it
it, huh?
did. It's fantastic.
Each of the characters, the members of the Thunderbolts in this film, has a little bit of a darkness within them, and as we all do, and have had at some point in our lives, this movie kind of lays out not only how that darkness tries to consume us, but how we can overcome it. One of the things that I really loved was what you touched on, which was this, these boxes in our mind, and we can replay these painful memories over and over and over again in our mind. And it's like a almost a version of self-torture.
It can be.
Absolutely. It's like a movie. We just play out that bad decision I made, or I really messed up there, and we just can't get it out. We see Yelena with the little girl that she had killed as part of her training in her younger years. We see John Walker with his divorce. We see Robert with his abusive father. These boxes that they've created for themselves, just replaying the painful parts.
Replaying, and something that I thought was also really, I don't know, brilliant might be too strong, but really, really well done, was that Yelena's watching this scene unfold that's really terrible, and she tries to change it and can't.
Yeah.
And that gets to, you can't change whatever happened. It happened. What you can change is your orientation towards it, your attitude towards it, your
outlook,
perspective towards it.
Absolutely.
And I love that they showed that she couldn't change it. She tried and couldn't do it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point. That's something that's really poignant that I think they did. It's a decision they made that I think really comes through, that and Robert being consumed by that darkness. I mean, he becomes literal darkness. Like, you can only see like the little like white lights for his eyes. I mean, he's consumed by it, while the others have not yet. We see that he's been consumed by it. He's I don't want to say given in, because that's not the right phrasing.
I think he was overwhelmed.
He was overwhelmed. That's the right word. Thank you. From it. And in turn, he turns other people into darkness. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is when he's trying to fight his dark version of himself. And you can't fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
Fighting it using violence or fighting it alone won't work. He's punching himself at the end. He's
feeding it.
He's feeding it. We see he's slowly turning into darkness himself.
Yes.
The light version of himself. But then each of the other Thunderbolts members gathers around him, surrounds him with support. We're here. We're with you.
And
you can overcome
this isn't the way to fight it.
This isn't the way to fight it. They all help each other. They can't do it alone. And that's what ultimately brings him out of it. And that, I think you touched on it a little bit, but that just, when you're with people, you find out, oh, you've got that too. Oh, okay. Like, you're not alone. And you can feel so alone in these things when you're playing those movies out in your mind.
And this also, going back to what the Dalai Lama had said, when he was just about to, he's trying to beat darkness with violence, the people around him pulled him out of himself in a way.
Sometimes you need that.
And that was part of what did it.
People can do that for you. Your
Yeah.
friends, your family,
Yeah.
therapists.
And let them. It's a beautiful gift that we can give to each other that's absolutely free and incredibly helpful and compassionate and humane. And that's what did this here. I thought that was beautiful.
It was. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I loved Yelena going into the darkness willingly.
That was awesome.
Try and like.
That was so cool. And I like that the others clocked it. Like
Yeah.
she went in there on purpose. Like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, she just stepped right into it.
And because she felt like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm already suffering. Like, is this going to be worse? Let's find out.
Yeah. But it was a chance to do the right to do not the right thing. She wanted to find purpose.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to discover who she really was.
She literally walked into the darkness. She wanted to discover what was inside of her. What is this darkness inside of her?
And she saw it.
Yeah, she sure did.
And she went through it and found Robert,
Yeah.
who was having who was dealing with his own darkness.
Yeah. And I thought Pullman was awesome. I thought as
He was
Robert,
great.
He was so good.
He was a surprise.
He was a surprise.
Because you don't in the trailer again, you don't see who the antagonist is,
No,
and he doesn't start out that way.
he doesn't.
He starts out as like kind of a member of them.
There's something about him too as an actor or how he portrayed this that is so hard to predict or like what's he. And Bill Pullman has the similar looks, and his father has similar eye talent, if you will. But this guy had me on edge as Robert. Like I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And don't know if those are is there goodness or badness behind those eyes? It was hard to tell at times.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Part of
Yeah,
what
he-
made him really dynamic.
He did a fantastic job.
he did.
Everybody that was in this, I think, did a fine job, and I was entertained.
Yeah.
I
Me
was.
too.
There were some good action sequences. There was some good cinematography. IMAX is fantastic. Pugh was amazing, and the storyline was actually
Yeah.
really surprising
Yeah. I agree.
and moving.
Agreed.
So, if you enjoyed this movie, Thunderbolts, and you want to see more like it, here's 5 you can stream right now. For a movie about everyday citizens with no real powers becoming heroes, check out the 2010 film Kick-Ass, now available on Amazon Prime. For a darker superhero movie about some unorthodox heroes, check out the 2009 film Watchmen,
God, I love that.
now available on HBO Max. Series is also good.
Series is so good.
Uh,
Loved it.
Fantastic. For a movie about a demon who is raised to fight the forces of evil, check out the 2004 film
So
Hellboy,
So
now
good.
available on Pluto TV.
Love that.
I haven't seen
Oh,
that
my
in
God.
so. You know, the last time I saw that was on
2004?
TBS
Oh,
on
wow.
TV. That's the last time I saw that.
TBS. That's
Yeah.
funny. Great movie.
Guillermo,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
good.
Guillermo.
For a unique take on not only the physical but psychological effects of superpowers, check out the 2000 film Unbreakable, now available on Hulu.
I dug that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a movie about what happens when the last person you'd expect gets superpowers, check out the 2008 film Hancock, now available on Amazon Prime.
I totally enjoyed Hancock.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
It is fun.
Yeah, it's
really
just a fun movie.
Will Smith's great.
Yeah, there's some more, the outskirts, the heroes on the
Yeah.
on the outskirts.
Yeah.
They're not your traditional
No.
heroes
Yeah,
like
which
this
is
movie.
Awesome.
So what did we learn from watching Thunderbolts, Joe?
Bring it home, Ryan.
That even superheroes can't escape the embarrassment of their father.
So true. That was awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
good moments.
There's some really good moments.
He's such a funny. David Harbour just plays
Yeah,
such a great
he was fantastic.
character. He's just so
He
funny,
was so good.
and their relationship is great.
It is.
When she comes to see him and he's like cleaning up his apartment,
Yeah.
and shit. It's just so good. He's got the limo service, which is how he finds out that they're going to go kill her.
I love his reaction too when he realized they're called the Thunderbolts. Really?
Yeah, yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, asterisk. It's because they're the new Avengers. What do you think about? Before we end here, we're gonna end here, but the I feel like Marvel movies are very politically coded. Some more blatantly than others. The Captain America, the Winter Soldier one that just came out, the president was a literal red Hulk.
Oh, because I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a little bit more
interesting.
obvious.
Yeah.
But this one with the character played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I forget the name of the character, but a lot of like politically coded that like taking like she takes.
Yeah.
She assumes all like responsibility.
Right.
And these are my, this was the plan all along. It was me that did it.
And that she was unimpeachable.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
unimpeachable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Getting rid of all the evidence, refusing to be. I just thought I always like clock those things in the Marvel movies.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, totally was there.
But beyond the father embarrassment, what we really learned is there's darkness inside of each of us. And that's okay. We've all made mistakes. We've done things we're not proud of, or we've experienced trauma, lost a loved one. And that's all just part of being human, Joe. But we have a choice. We can choose to run away, shove our darkness down, or we can face it, and with the help of other people, we can overcome it. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for, they're lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.